Hi, this is Morgan Doremus with RT Book Reviews, and I'm sitting here with Carrie Lofty and Lorelie Brown, and together they make up Katie Porter.
Hi.
And so do you answer to just like anything, any name that is thrown at you, you answer to?
You have no idea. I answered to probably a dozen things. Mommy being the most one, but yeah, it's when we're here.
I did that too.
This has been a really big Katie Porter conference for us. We've been working separately under our own names, historical and paranormal, but RT has been very good to us as Katie, so we were really glad to get here together.
Speaking of which, you just won a huge award. We honored you for the Seal of Excellence Award for an erotica that you wrote, which was absolutely amazing. It went for December in 2012.
Came upon a midnight clear. It was our Christmas, our first mail. Yep. And first mail that RT.
Seal of Excellence, Best Book of the Month, and it was the first mail.
We were very honored. That was awesome.
Yes, there was like jumping up and down, honestly.
Pretty much.
And then under your Carrie Lofty name, you also won awards. So we literally kept just calling you ladies up to the stage to just get another award after the other.
Well, there's Best Ebook Erotic Romance too for Hold'em.
Hold'em, the third in the Vegas Top Gun series. So
let's talk about these Vegas Top Guns. You know that I am dying to talk about them because this series, it takes place in Vegas. And it has to do, it's around a military base, and so you have Top Guns, Air Force, pilots, and it's so interesting because it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily get the fighting or the war, but you still get the military heroes, which I think, and heroines, you've got the women too, but I think that is so exciting that you get the hero, but you also get them to focus on the relationship that they're in.
Right. Well, they're instructors at Nellis Air Force Base, which is just outside Las Vegas, so and we chose it intentionally so that we could focus a little more on them as heroes, yet real people too. And
with the military romance, there's always the risk of, are they going to be redeployed? The politics of warfare and everything. We kept all of that pretty much gone. Left the hot fighter pilots and
lots of hot and naughty things
in Las Vegas. So it was like the perfect find. She'd come back from Las Vegas on a mini vacation, and
it was almost a year earlier, actually, that I had been to Vegas for a little under a week, and I came back and I kept thinking, I need to set a story there. I need to set a story there, and it couldn't make it work on my own, like what I wanted to write all by myself, and then
as usual, brainstorming and.
So before you started writing under the Katie Porter name, and before you had this idea to write the Top Guns, were you critique partners? Have you ever written together before?
No, this was the first time.
Yeah, we had been friends and critique partners. Well, we have been now for 7 years. So up until then, it had been 5 years of being able to read each other's things and brainstorm, and it just kept getting more all up in each other's stuff. Like our brainstorming became much more, even our individual projects became much more, okay, I can't do this before we have a chat sort of thing. And so it became much more focused on relying on each other for ideas and compensating, I think, for some of our weaknesses and strengths and all that. And so when it finally came together, it just made sense, and it came together
like a house on
so
fire.
quickly. We wrote the first 3 books in the series in about 5 weeks.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So you had this idea in Vegas. You knew it was going to be hot. You knew it was going to be sexy. So you came and said to Carrie, "I've got all these kinks in mind. Let's write about them." Like, because in this series you delve into role playing, you delve into BDSM, into costumes, into whips, you name it, and you go there. And so how did you react? Because you're a historical author, you do other things.
It's fine. Research is fun. She found Tumblr long before I did. She's like, look at this.
Honestly, I think that's part of how I got her. I was sending her pictures from Tumblr and going, there's a book there. There's a book there.
There's at least a scene there. We actually I think we actually plotted book 2, Inside Bets, first.
Yes, John and Heather came first, and their power dynamic, switchy kind of stuff, and
lots of dares.
Oh, it was fun because they'll show up they'll give each other the dares, and then they'll show up at like a casino having to wear something or do something, and that was really fun.
Yeah, they didn't back down from anything.
No,
and
it was, yeah.
So that was the first one. It was intriguing. What if you had a couple where they never said no, or if no was losing, and losing was also fun because then the other person won, and that's a good thing too. Sexually, emotionally, there was always that give and take.
Most of the rest of them have run just from the characters, though.
We
start with
those
the characters and who we're looking at and what it would take to crack under their outward personalities, basically.
And so we've been conscious of trying to mix it up and not have just BDSM in each one, or whips and chains, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, there's nothing for us. It was more like kid in a candy store, like
what else can we put
exactly. It was very much that everybody is every couple has a different sexual dynamic, and not everyone is going to be the same, even if it's all in the BDSM range or whatever. There are so many variations, and even our role playing has got a lot of dominant submission sort of aspects, but it's primarily in Double Down to do with his role-playing fetish. So
we get costumes in that one. We get naughty
costumes.
Schoolgirl. I think there's a naughty nurse, if I'm not mistaken.
There's
Is there?
a naughty nurse mentioned, but they don't actually wear
the French
that
maid
one.
is the big
French
one.
maid.
That was a fun one to write, because we just kind of we literally went on the internet and we're scrolling through costume sites, and we're like, sexy convict. No, I don't think that one's going to work.
Not many people look good in orange.
Well, let's talk about, in the series, you have Hardway. And when this was released, it created a little bit of controversy, because in Hardway it is BDSM, and it gets very intense.
It does.
And it is between a husband and a wife, and they're a little bit on the rocks. Like their relationship is not working, and they find that through a little more intense lovemaking, especially with some pain, some dealing with that in a very responsible way.
Yes.
They're able to connect on a different level than they have been before, and it makes it takes that relationship to a whole nother level for them, even though they've been married. This was really, it was, like I said, it was a really controversial book, and we've heard a lot back from readers. What have you been hearing back from readers for that particular novel?
We put a warning on it. Normally Sam Hain does a really good job. We have cute warnings. This involves motorcycles
Lots
or
of hot
French
men.
maids, and this one we said it's time to put the kidding aside. If you have any sensitivity to forced sexual situations, this is not your book.
And it really isn't.
It's, and so that was something we wanted to be very clear up front, because their kink is him basically taking control in a way that's without her consent, being in her point of view and realizing that she really does enjoy it, would look incredibly violent. And but for her, it was getting under his skin for the first time. He's been happy-go-lucky jester, and then for this kind of darker side to come out, she wanted more of that real stuff, and he kind of wanted to, she wanted a divorce, so there was a certain sort of caveman element that came out of him that I don't think either of them expected. And so readers, what have we been hearing? Reviewers?
People tell us it's really emotional, actually. Most common thing that we hear is the sex is as intense as we thought it would be, but the emotion is actually almost seems to be difficult for some people to read as well, because they're not exactly happy people. We have some happy characters in other books. They're not, because who is when your marriage is on the rocks? It's not somewhere you want to be. So there's stuff you have to get under to get the truth out.
And so they'd been unhappy for a long time, and we see it building through the series that Dash, the hero, is in book 2, 3, and then in 4. And so the emotional journey for them is just as difficult and wrenching, I think, as the sex was obviously the controversy part, but for a couple to make it through something like that and come back together at the end, it was a hard book to write, because that is a tricky romance to navigate and to make it seem legitimate enough that people believe that their happy ending is for real this time. Normally marriage is the happy ending. Is the happy ending in romance, especially, and but otherwise it's been one of those things where people are like, oh my god, I love this book, but it was wrenching, and I don't know how to I don't know how to recommend this to people. It's, it's
Well,
not
we know
a-
how to recommend it. We recommend it with a top pick. So
You
that's
did,
how
you
we
did.
recommended it at RT.
That
Fourth
was
top pick for the Top Gun series.
fourth in a row. So it's 4 for 4. It's not putting any pressure on Bare Knuckle in October. No,
Poor kisser.
we have one more, and that comes out in October, and that's Voyeur, he's the fighter pilot who's been scarred in an accident, and he likes to stay behind the camera, kind of because of that. But he meets a Vegas showgirl who is
A showgirl. I'm excited.
Yes, we had so much fun with her.
I don't know if she's my favorite heroine. She's got to be
She's
close.
your favorite
She's
heroine,
my
admit
heroine.
it.
I mean, I love Heather, but no, Trish is my favorite heroine because she's been in Vegas. She's a pageant girl, and she hasn't lost her optimism. She hasn't lost her love for life, after
Bright, shiny
A
things.
verve. She has a verve.
In 5 years in Vegas, she hasn't got ground down to nothing, and I think he is just brought out of the shadows by her just being that optimistic. And so, voyeur and exhibitionism next. We go for another kink.
But wait a second. Before we get that one, I hear you've got a new project in July. Is that right? Under the Katie Porter name.
Yeah. Chains and Canes comes out July 9th.
Okay. Chains and Canes. I think I know what we're going to get in this one. Is it? It's pretty explicit right there in the title.
It's a really sweet hometown romance. Lies. It's set in a burlesque club in New York City. And the head choreographer of the club is a dominant who's had a very rocky past. And he meets Daniel and Naya.
Naya is a dancer and Daniel is her fiance. And yet they both are, Naya knows that she is submissive and Daniel has never really been able to give that to her. Mm-hmm. So a little play with Remy turns into way more than anyone had expected.
So we've got 2 submissives and 1 dom, and they double team him. They're like, we want you. And but
down he goes.
So yeah, that's July 9th. That'll be a lot of fun. And we forgot Hold'em, the one we won the award for, which was Femdom.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, last year. That was, female fighter pilot.
Yeah,
Which
fighter
was
pilot.
great. I think that's what set that book in the series apart, is because you have this female and she's essentially in a male world,
Mm-hmm.
at this Air Force base as an instructor, and she can hold her own against anything. And it was so gratifying to have this really strong heroine, because as a reader, that's what I'm looking for.
Right, and her hero is delicious.
What Katie Porter hero is not delicious? They have
Like
all.
to think.
He's delicious, and we play with femdom with the idea that Joey Hill has done some wonderful femdoms, and the idea that a guy can be sexy and powerful, and to control that is even more sexy and powerful. You don't want some sniveling, guy who's, please take me. No, he's like, hell no. He's kind of chauvinistic to begin with, and she brings him around to really respecting what she does and how hard she has worked to get where she is. And that was our soft spot book, because it was the 3rd we'd written in that month of absolute crazy. My husband going, what is going on? And we're like, we're between projects, and we just thought we'd write 3 books in a row. No.
It seemed perfectly logical at the time.
There's 2 of you, so that means that, if you do the math, you times that, so it really comes out to be 4,
It's
8, 10.
Well, it's more than that. It's momentum, because as writers, you can get very isolated, and
it's exciting to know that something new is coming your way every day.
new chapter every morning kind of thing, and they get to the end of the chapter and what's next? I don't know. You have to write it. Oh, okay.
Well, talk about new chapters and new things we can expect. We're going to get the 5th in the Top Gun series at the end of the year, but before that, we do have another coming out. And one more time, you got to say the name.
Chains and Canes.
Chains and Canes, and there will be July 9th, and there will be both Chains and Canes. So get ready.
We made sure.
You can't have that title and not follow through.
That would be teasing. And then Bare Knuckle, the last of the Top Guns, comes out October 8th. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it, and
so
congratulations on your award wins.
It's been so much fun. Thank you.
It has.